Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today. So I'm so excited to introduce my first sketch that I designed myself. So this is the first Craft with Tea sketch number 1. And I'm really excited to share this one with you. Now, I did include measurements on my sketch, but you can of course change things, and I did that actually with my first video of my own sketch, which is kind of funny. So in doing the sketch, the base fabric I had at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is your standard card size. Okay, if you don't like having a border, then feel free to use that size. Cut it at the exact same size as your card front. I tend to do a lot with using the border around my cards, so I just cut mine 1/8 of an inch shorter. So I made it 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, which gives me that little bit of brown around my edge. And then I also cut out a large black circle. This is my long piece that is 2 inches by 5 1/2. If you do the border like I did, just make sure you make your length the same size as the pattern paper. And then I cut out a bunch of thanks and layered them up, which we'll put down for the sentiment. And then we're going to be using some Nouveau drops. Okay, so just breaking everything down, we're going to go ahead and get the pattern paper attached using the ATG gun. And I'm also going to use some of the art glitter glue. I like using it with this ATG especially, because when you use the wet glue with the ATG tape, it gives you a little bit of wiggle room so that if you needed to move it around or adjust it, you have time to pull it up and not ruin the paper. Alright, so once we get that laid down, I'm going to go ahead and actually place the underneath circle, the black circle. And I made this circle plain, so without the stitch lines. And then for my focal image, I used a stitch circle. So I just made sure that I had a nice edge around, as far as the black one being a little bit bigger than my stitch circle. So now I'm going to take our strip and go all the way around, and once again use some more of that art glitter glue. And at first I was going to have this one on the sketch be 2 1/2 wide by the 5 1/2, but I liked it thinner, so that's why I changed it to the actual 2 inches by 5 1/2. And you just want to make sure, like I said, it lines up with your pattern paper. So my strip is actually 2 by 5 3/8, because that's what I made my pattern paper. And then I'm just going to take my focal image, which is just an iris flower that I stamped in Versamark ink and heat embossed with Ranger Superfine glitter, the gold glitter. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that it's laying in the correct position and press it down, making sure I have a nice little edge of the black circle from underneath. And then I'm peeling off my thanks. And what I did was I took black paper and put a piece of Stick It adhesive on the back, and then I cut out the word 3 times, and I did 2 cards, so it wound up being a total of 6 altogether. And with it having the Stick It, I was able to layer them up and press them all together. And then just so that it would have a little bit more a stronger hold, I did put some of the multimedia matte on the bottom thanks that's going to attach to the actual card. And then what I did was, once I lay it down or get it into the position where I'm happy with it, I'm going to get one of my blocks, put it down on top of it, and then at first I was using my gesso, and then I turned to one of my embossing paste, the crackle paste, and put that on top. And while that's sitting there, I'm gonna go ahead and do a couple of tests of my Nouveau drops. I like to make sure if there's any air bubbles that they are out. before I actually start putting it on to the project. But even if it does happen, it's okay. If a little bubble comes out, then just go ahead and, you know, keep squeezing, because more will come out and you'll be able to finish your enamel dot. And then it's important after you do your dots that your card lays flat, and it's good to let it dry for 24 hours. Sorry about that, I knocked, of course, everything over. If you want to let it dry for 24 hours. It will feel dry to your touch after a short period of time, but if you were to squeeze it or something was to fall on it, you run the risk of it smushing or being flattened. So you just want to be careful about where you lay it, especially if you want it to have that dome. So in the links down below, I will try and have a link to my blog. Well, I always have my link to my blog, but I'm going to try and set up an area on it for the sketches that I do, that I've created, so that way you guys will have a place to go and see all the sketches. I'm not going to promise that there'll be a new one each week, but I do want to start doing some of my own, so that way I can create my own collection, and we can maybe even have challenges someday with the sketches from Crafting with T. Okay, so, or Craft with T, I should say. So here are the close-ups. And you can see the layers on this one. This is the one I did off screen. It's very subtle. I think this would work well for even a more masculine, even though we have that gold in the flower. It's just a nice thank you card, and it's subtle. So I think it can go, you know, for a woman or a man, and it would be, you know, nicely received. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to have links here to previous sketch videos. And if you haven't subscribed already, just click on my photo and hit the little bell so that way you get alerts whenever I upload new content. Thank you guys, and have a great weekend.